Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. As far as the elections come closer, we've seen the ECP talk about end January as far as the election date is concerned. We're looking at political parties now asking for, of course, their candidates organizing themselves with that timeline in mind, end January. But also, as far as narratives are concerned, what will appeal to the masses seems to be also a question. We've seen as far as the PML-N is concerned, the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab talk about action, talk about there being repercussions for actions, according to him, that were taken by the establishment, by, of course, certain members of earlier members of the judiciary. We'll be talking about the ramifications of this narrative and whether there is really a change of narrative as far as PML-N is concerned, or is this an extension of the earlier narrative by the former Prime Minister, his daughter, the PML-N as a whole, against the establishment, action being taken against all those responsible for any acts contrary to law. We'll be talking about this. We'll also be talking about overall, as far as the public is concerned, as far as what will appeal to the masses, considering, of course, the background. We saw the vote of no confidence, we saw the events of May 9th, and later, a more change as far as alliances within political parties is concerned. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Saif Jamshed, baryar, who's a political analyst. Thank you for being with us today. We have with us Qaiser Ahmad Sheikh from the PML-N. Thank you for joining us. And Zahid Gishkori, who's a senior journalist. Thank you for being with us today. Before I go to Saif here in the studio, I'm going to go to Qaiser Saab. Qaiser Saab, as far as the PML-N is concerned, the former Prime Minister saying that action should be taken against all those who went contrary to law, whether they are members of the establishment or they are, earlier members of the judiciary. All of these statements, how are you looking at them? Are these an extension of the earlier narrative of the former Prime Minister? Or do you see it as a change now? Because earlier on, of course, we saw the government of, the PDM with Shahbaz Sharif Saab at the helm of affairs, and is there a change with the overall, dynamic as far as the narrative is concerned with regard to the establishment now?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mahrukh, very important topic. Mia Nawaz Sharif Saab has categorically said that he is visiting, he's coming back to Pakistan on 21st of October, and we, the party members and all Pakistanis, eagerly awaiting his arrival, and are very keen to welcome him. Mainly the function will be arranged on 21st October at Minar Pakistan, and huge number of people are expected to be gathered there. Party has given advice to all of units and all of the MNAs and MPAs and ticket holders that they should all vigorously work for the welcome Mia Saab. So he's coming after 4 years. Of course, there are some technical or maybe some legal matters involved in it, but that is a matter I feel that legal experts are looking for that and making preparation. As far as your question is concerned, we have seen the 16th month coalition government of Mia Shahbaz Sharif. That was a PML-N government. And in that government, we have experienced that we had coalition between all the parties. It was 13 parties, and we tried to have to accommodate almost each and every thinking and point of the party, because that was the only option that was available to the, at that time we could not have any choice that there could be difference of opinion between those 13 parties. But new elections are going to be held in the end of January, And now it all depends that how much any party gets mandate of the people in that elections. So the Mia Sahib has given
Now,
categorically
in
no.
your opinion, is there now a difference of opinion, with the PML-N and other political parties, other main political parties?
You see that it all depends on the mandate. You see, up to now, I think the things are have not been decided. You see, we can have some understanding between the parties, some seat adjustments. It is clear that each party has to contest on its own and on their own manifesto and their own ticket. But still, it's not very clear that how I feel that it is not so easy that a single party can get a majority of the seats of National Assembly.
To talk to you
So
about the fact that, as far as the PML-N itself is concerned, the hard line that Mia Saab, the former Prime Minister Mia Nawaz Sharif Saab is taking, is an extension of his earlier, stance as far as the establishment is concerned. It seems, is it a reiteration of it, or is it a deviation from that? I will come and talk to you more on this. Let me come back.
Yes.
Let me come back on that. Saif, as far as the narratives are concerned, like Qaiser Saab is also saying, now it's a time for political parties to, of course, they're going to be contesting against each other essentially, and the main political parties, and of course, they've all decided against seat adjustment. With that regard, there will be a change in narrative, no, between all political parties.
Mahrukh, thank you for having me here. I firmly believe in the fact that this is an idea of narratives of convenience, and we've seen this happening in Pakistan most of the times. Whenever the election is near, there is a swing of narratives within different political parties. I think we need to understand this from the historical perspective or from the recent perspective. During the PDM government, it was actually led by majority of PML-N leadership and the leadership that was presently in Pakistan at that moment. And that leadership had given in a narrative that maybe everything with the establishment had been resolved. And ultimately, the way forward for PML-N was to continue a new policy that would have been very different from their past. But now, I think that what narrative PML-N is giving at the moment, it's a reversal of maybe what they had portrayed in 1.5 years. And it's maybe that particular narrative that would be securing maximum of the swing voters. Now, the point that I'm trying to make over here is that if you talk about Tehreek-e-Insaf, since their Prime Minister was ousted, since the party chairman has been in jail, they've asserted on this anti-establishment narrative. And anti-establishment narratives are not new to the political history of the country. Whenever it's convenient to have an anti-establishment narrative, a particular leader takes it up. But now PML-N leadership that is sitting in Pakistan needs to clarify that what is really going to happen. We are speculating Nawaz Sharif's return after 21st of October. That is what I've been informed.
That is what also
this is something that is prevailing in the air, right?
But sir, let me interject here. As far as the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab is concerned, there is, he has always, isn't it true that he's always said that action should be taken against those responsible for Panama? The PML-N as a whole, his daughter Maryam Nawaz also has always said that what happened in Panama was a result of conspiracy. She's also very bravely named conspirators even during a time when perhaps it was more difficult for them to name these people. So in that sense, you don't see it as an extension of the same narrative?
I think it is an extension of what really was their narrative back in 2017. Because when we talk about Nawaz Sharif Saab, he has been pretty fixed on that narrative, and all the names that he took while sitting in London, that was an extension of that narrative. And that was
the names that were earlier taken in that other gathering in Gujranwala also.
Yeah, that they were taken in Gujranwala as well, and that was assertion of that political momentum that maybe he had left back in 2017. But we also need to understand that there is a PML-N leadership that is sitting on the ground right now, and they need to give something of a political momentum to the ground voter. While the PML-N's top leadership, I'm talking about Mia Saab, Nawaz Sharif Saab, while him sitting in London and the average voter sitting in Pakistan, there has to be a bridge of connectivity of narratives as well. Maybe Shehbaz Sharif tried to formulate a bridge between the voter and Nawaz Sharif Saab as well. and maybe the establishment in Nawaz Sharif Saab as well. But I see that getting undone at the moment.
But don't you think that overall, I'll go to Zahid Saab and come back to you, but Zahid Saab, that bridge, that's, I don't know if you've been listening or not, that Saif Baryar Saab is talking about is the bridge that Maryam Nawaz has been, trying to bridge between the masses and the distance perhaps, because of course, as far as the PML-N is concerned, it's very much, a party of the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab, and she is seen as an extension of that narrative. So do you think that, bridging that gap, she has been responsible and seen as the face of her father's politics and, what all that he stands for? And the bravery that, with which he has named people has been seen through her. Isn't that true?
Thank you very much, Mahrukh. This is very interesting debate. I just started hearing you here. But I think this time, former Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif's persistent demand with the judges and retired general accountability, creating panic within the ranks of PML-N, because PML-N is thinking something different on the ground here, because they understand that in 1.5 years with PGM, they try to rule the country and try to get rid of the problem and challenges the country was facing, and they have been criticizing the previous government, the PTI regime. But at the moment, Nawaz Sharif, I think, understand as a seasoned politician that millions of people went down to poverty line here in Pakistan, the inflation and huge challenges. And according to my sources, that they have a plan now to come back to the country, and he's coming back on October 1st, but obviously he would be challenging mammoth of challenges. Number one, we don't know that either he would go directly to jail, either his legal team would be in a position to take some sort of relief for him because he's convicted, and this is the complication they have discussed in marathon meetings in London. And obviously, you were talking about Maryam Nawaz Sharif. I think in PML-N, she at the moment is the only leader who could just pull through in the public and just get out public in the street for her party support. And of course, Shehbaz Sharif is basically trying to playing a role of a bridge between the harsh stance of Nawaz Sharif and the PML-N stance, and obviously with the establishment, we don't know what would be the situation. But at the moment, the National Accountability Bureau is also now seeking reinforcement amid push to reopen different cases against the public office holders. So it's a new push. We don't know that what would happening exactly in the coming 2 months, but with the ECP responsibility to election as soon as possible. To interesting situation. But look, Mahrukh, when we discussed this, that Nawaz Sharif is blaming judges, and after the Panama situation he has been facing in the past 6 years, and on the one hand he claimed that he was the most popular at that time and he was removed by the judges from the office, convicted and put into the jail. But on the second hand, secondly, the PTI top leadership also claimed that his man also was removed from the government and put into jail when he was the most popular leader of the country. So, the interesting situation for the both top political parties, and of course, PPP also claiming for level.
As far as the former Prime Minister, as far as the chairman of PTI is concerned, his popularity at the time that the vote of no confidence happened, to perhaps even later, there's a lot of debate about the fact that perhaps when the vote of no confidence actually happened was at an all-time low. What do you feel about that?
Interesting question. Yes, it's true, and that's why it is the reason that he lost in the parliament. And obviously, the situation was not in the control, and the bad governance and the multiple issues on the economic front, they failed to deliver. It's true. But after that, the moment he was running the campaign against the government and the situation with the PDM government, he got popularity. But now, after putting into the jail, the situation is quite different. And post 9th May episode changed the whole political scenario. Even the party lost its major, in the stakes in the upcoming political system, and I don't see that the PTI would be getting rehabilitation, reconstruction, or the recovery program even in the 6 months. I don't see even because the nature of the cases its top leadership is facing. I don't see
at this
any
time.
relief
A
in
lot of this, the popularity that or whatever, if at this time, as far as the PTI is concerned, is perhaps a sympathy vote that perhaps would have the situation would have been different. Had the vote of no confidence not happened in terms of the policies of the government, when the former Prime Minister, PTI chief, was leading the country as far as their policy, their foreign policy, their economic policy, the economic decisions, all of those things were at that time being questioned. Isn't that true?
It remained a question, but now the situation on the ground, the political situation has been absolutely changed in the country, and I don't see any relief for PTI because the following 9th May episode, and you know well as a journalist here, we have been discussing this issue, and I don't see any relief because the nature of the cases party top leadership is facing. Now the political scenario I see is divided on many fronts. I don't see that any political party would be in a position to get any majority in upcoming elections because the situation is loud and clear that the Pakistan People's Party, which has been ruling in the province of Sindh, also was a part of PTM government, complaining for the level playing field, and PML-N also, the leadership could not decide that who would be leading the campaign, and the person they are talking about, obviously, he has in a difficult legal complication. I don't know that either he would be able to lead the campaign. And on the other hand, the different political parties have been emerging in the provinces that which could be the major stakeholder in the provinces. BAP in Balochistan and the Tehreek-e-Istikam party in Punjab with PML-Q, and then PTI parliamentarian.
Let me come back to you, Zahid Saab, on that. I'm going to go to Qaiser Saab. Qaiser Saab, as far as this narrative is concerned, as far as the PML-N is concerned, do you think there's going to be, now that I think a lot of people are agreeing with what Zahid Saab is saying, Saif also here in the studio, that it seems difficult for one political party, any political party at this time, to be able to get the kind of votes that they would like, to make the kind of changes that perhaps Pakistan needs at this time. I think Mia Saab also, Mia Nawaz Sharif Saab also has said so, that there are things that really in terms of reform, in terms of that Pakistan really needs, the kind of changes for which perhaps a clear majority or even a 2/3 majority is perhaps the yardstick that we need. It seems difficult at this time on the ground. How do you, what kind of a situation do you expect in that kind of a scenario? Do you think that we will, your party also will be able to make the kind of changes that they want, if the numbers are not what they should be for any political party?
Mahrukh, as far as I think that presently no political party is in a position to get a clear-cut majority. The different parties have to do, and there must be some coalitions either before the elections or even after the election. All the parties are contesting their own, but you see in different regions there are different parties which are popular and which are expected to get the mandate. Now the thing is that it's very important to have to sort out the political turmoil. You see, up to now, why Pakistan has not been progressing. You see, the recent report of Asian Development Bank even yesterday, they mentioned that Pakistan economy is the 42nd number out of 46 countries in Asia. So our growth is expected growth is 1.9, while the average growth in Asia is 5.6, and Indian growth is much higher than that. So in order to sort out these matters, if we have been conflicting between our own parties and don't make any, you see, the World Bank also mentioned that there should be some minimum agreement of the parties. If not a charter of economy, at least some minimum things should be agreed to make development of Pakistan. And this is very much required maybe before the election so that some coalition could be formulated. You see, you mentioned that, of course, Mia Saab is a very popular leader in Pakistan, and we were progressing a lot up to 2017, and there was a lot of growth. We were not having so much inflation, and
but
things
Qaiser
were.
Saab, do you think, yes, I think that we can all agree that as far as 2000s, when the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab was ousted, when Panama happened, the situation was very different from what it is today. But in terms of there being alliances, do you think there's going to be a possibility of alliances before? Because it seems to have been ruled out. Isn't it true that every party will contest on its own behalf and there will not be any seat adjustment? Is that true?
It is not clear at present. You see, the elections are 4 months from today. So these coalitions are the talks between the parties, political parties. It's very important to have interaction, and things will be starting very soon, and there will be some sort of alliances that will come before the election. So I feel whatever, but we are sure that PML-N will be the major party. That will be the party getting maximum number of seats in the National Assembly. So because people believe that up to 2017, Pakistan was progressing well, and we should again sort of, but the main thing was that the political turmoil which we had last 5 years, we could not have any agreement between the parties or any understanding. So I think even Mia Saab has in mind that there should be some sort of agreement or some sort of understanding between the parties, because that is the thing that present we see that we are having many problems. Our 40%
the other political parties are going to support the hard line that Mia Saab has historically very bravely taken against, institutions where he feels that they are, not, they haven't been fair. Do you think other political parties are going to support that line, that narrative?
First of all, I should clarify, I feel that the hard line which we presume may have again to be discussed thoroughly between, you see, Mia Shahbaz Sharif immediately went again to London, and there have been party meetings there. So of course Mia Saab mentioned about that, but after that, you see, there is also talk about understanding between the parties, and that there should be all parties should give some space to each other. So I feel that it is much debated and much discussed about this hard line, but I feel there should be some understanding and some consideration on that also between the all members of the party. It is not the party doesn't formulate its policies just by in one meeting. There should be a broader meetings. When Mia Saab come here, the ground realities are before him, and then there would be a consensus among the party members. And I feel that presently Mia Saab is very right, because whatever happened to him in 2017, everything was going well. All of a sudden, there was some sort of revenge against him. He is convinced on that. And so that's why that has been a reason of that hard line, because Mia Saab feel that whenever Pakistan is going to progress, there are some opponent forces which just divert Pakistan to have such development. So this, I think, should be more and more debated, and that should be some understanding between the party. I don't feel that the impression given by the all media is that it is very hard line. Mia Saab mentioned about what happened in
Isn't it
2017.
true, in your opinion, and I will ask Zahid Saab this also and Saif here also, isn't it true that perhaps the hard line that the media is talking about, whether it's been, according to you, blown out of proportion, or whether it will be rethought, or whether, it is conditional upon there being more, meetings or more consultation between the party members and Mia Saab. The question is, isn't that going to resonate at this time with the masses?
You see, it's very, people are feeling a pinch of their economic matters. Their earnings is, purchasing power of their earnings is down, and inflation is too high. And you see 40% of the people have gone below poverty line, about 7% increased in last few years. So a huge number of people have gone down their income, and so you see people are not very happy. We would have to convince them. We would have to the politicians. It is the business of the politician that we have to convince the people that these was the reason. So if establishment also should come forward and should have understanding for the benefit and the progress of Pakistan. So I feel that there should be consensus on that. Both the political parties as well as the
establishment. Seems to be the order of the day. Let me go to Zahid Saab. Zahid Saab, do you think you think that this narrative at this time will resonate with the masses?
Look, Mahrukh, I think so far as we expect that election are around the corner, and I haven't seen any Pakistan leading political party which comes up how to cope with the challenges on the economic front the country is facing. I don't see that even PML-N, Pakistan People's Party, or PTI, any political party did not give us any the formula if they form the government in the center. But when we are discussing PML-N narrative, particularly with the focus of Nawaz Sharif intention and his speeches and talks to media in recent times in London, I think the people of Pakistan at the moment are thinking about how to get rid of this inflation in the market, and the power issues and the other issues at the economic front, and as our panelists are saying, this.
As far as people are concerned, the confidence in political parties as a whole, all political parties, is an all-time low.
Absolutely true. I 100% agree to you, and this is the reason that even the caretaker government has a different mandate, and I don't see that they would be in a position to give any relief to the people of Pakistan. That's why they are hoping election as soon as possible in the country, and any government which formed the government in the center, any political party which formed the government in the center, would be in a position, it's a question, would it be a position to resolve all the challenges? Would it get the mandate of two-thirds majority? I don't see any political party would be in a position to form the government in the center single-handedly. It would be again a cluster of different political parties which most likely be forming a government in the center, and then it would be difficult for the government to take strong, immediate decision to cope with all the challenges the country is facing at the economic front and many other issues as well. So it's a very tricky situation, tough time for the people of Pakistan, of course, for the state as well. We don't know exactly that what would be the position after 2 months, but we hope that as Election Commission is struggling to complete the process, the process is a complicated process. I don't see, as a reporter, this is my observation, might be my colleagues will not be able to agree to my point that even election could be extended to February, mid of the February, or in the first week of March, because the weather situation or the challenges on different fronts, and the Pakistan program with the IMF and the task of the caretaker government. So there are many ifs and buts involved in this situation. But one can hope that any political party who form the government in the center, it doesn't matter if it's PML-N or Pakistan People's Party or any other party, we hope that the democracy and the democratic project of Pakistan, which remains quite weakened because many political parties are coming out, but they don't have playing as a length to become a national political party. So cluster of political parties running on different fronts, they might be supporting any party, major party in the center, but what would be the situation? Either they would be able to give any specific significant plan to the people of Pakistan to get rid of the challenges they are facing, particularly at the inflation front.
Fair enough.
So,
Zahid Saab, thank you for your very valuable input. Saif, do you think that there is, of course what Zahid Saab is saying, the fact that, it doesn't look like, and I think Qaiser Saab also conceded that it doesn't look like one political party will be able to get that kind of vote bank they would like. But even, whether there is, economic challenges are there, people will have to vote. So in this environment, whatever it may be, whether challenging or not for the people every day, what kind of a scenario do you think emerging, Isn't it true that perhaps the anti-establishment narrative may be what will resonate with the people at this time?
Mahrukh, to answer your question, I think we need to divide the model of politics in Pakistan. There's something called politics of statesmanship, and that's entirely missing out from the political fabric since the past 75 plus years. Now, there's one thing called political bargaining, there's one thing that is called political convenience, and there's another thing that's called political revitalization. Maybe Mia Saab is trying to politically revitalize his narrative that maybe he took along with himself in 2017 to London. And now in that element of political revitalization, PML-N wants to see that opportunity as well, that the PTI chairman in fact had built up a very strong anti-establishment narrative, and him being in jail automatically means there's a lot of swing voter roaming out there looking for political optimism, political direction. Now there's another thing that's called political convenience. Now many political parties that were part of the PDM government are sitting silently, they're simply observing what to do, and they're trying to look at the political convenience maybe they can get out of the political bargaining with the powerful corridors of the country. But the fact of the matter is that if I'm to be very vocal right now, the common man out there, I think he's not even resonating with the political atmosphere. He's resonating more with the inflation rates, he's resonating more with the crippled economy, and he has actually lost hope in all these major political parties. And today I think it calls for a massive political maneuvering, or rather political
rethink.
Political rethink, or rather I say this calls for a charter of political prosperity. We had a charter of democracy back in 2007, but now we need to be having a charter of political prosperity as well, where these different political parties, before the elections are coming in, they develop a conducive environment that this is the level playing field that we've built. These are the perimeters of political interaction and political opposition that we've decided upon, and we'll not violate this perimeter. So I think if we talk about the other economies around us, one of the main things that there have been in those economies, in those countries, it has been political statesmanship. Now, what's the difference between a politician and a statesman? A statesman actually looks after the interest of the future generation, while a politician is looking for the future elections. So rather than deciding upon the election date and looking very much optimistically or pessimistically towards what is going to happen in January, I think it calls for a new charter of political prosperity, and maybe with one party's leadership, top leadership in jail, the other party's top leadership in another country, and the remaining top leadership of different political parties totally being silent these days. I honestly think that the political scenario ahead is very much bleak, and I think the interim government needs to play a part in developing that conducive environment, at least in November and December.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for being with us. Saif Jamshed Baryar Sahab, thank you for joining us. Qaiser Ahmad Sheikh, thank you for your very valuable input. Zahid Gishkori Sahab, thank you for being with us. I'm going to move on we have very little time, and we have with us Dr. Jamil Khan, who's a former ambassador. Jamil Sahab, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I want to take a little time to talk about what's happening between India and Canada, after Niger's death, and, we have seen relations plummet. We've also seen the statement by the Canadian Prime Minister overall, and the denial also. What do you see as the ramifications of this incident, in the next couple of weeks?
Well, it appears that it's going to take a serious turn. At least in the short term time. But then at later stage, because there are geopolitical interest and geoeconomical interest in this region, so those countries who are directly involved in gaining the geopolitical and geoeconomic advantage, and my indication is the United States and its allies, and India is the main ally of United States in this region. India has already entered into more than 7 different agreements with the United States and its allies. So, in other words, it is going to be a little tough for India to come out of it so easily, because the 5 countries, which are 5 eyes, they very much collaborate with piece of intelligence. And in this case also, Justin Trudeau very clearly says that we had shared this intelligence with 5 eyes, which is New Zealand, Australia, UK, and US. And then those intelligence was collected not only by Canada but by other intelligence agencies. And Justice Trudeau had shared that with India, but India is thought probably Justin Trudeau would not really take it at that level where it is now. Now it is really posing them a problem, because it's not only 5 eyes, but also the other developed countries. They have started taking huge interest. Justin Trudeau has very clearly said that we do want to have relations with India, but at the same time, this is a very serious matter. Antony Blinken on Friday was also very clear that India has to really participate in the investigation, and has to really has to help Canada detect the murderer. In this case,
do you see this perhaps having lasting consequences for India in terms of the image that they've been trying to perpetuate, as far as, of course, this is the background of the G20, the facade that India paints, all of that. Do you think it's going to dent that everlastingly?
Well, it's going to dent that. India would try to really repair this dent, but it doesn't appear that they would be able to do that anytime soon. And then India has been, the champion, at least it has been claiming the champion of democracy, and the biggest democracy of the world. So, and then he could get away with whatever he was doing with his neighbors, including Pakistan. Involvement of India in Pakistan, if the investigation goes further, such evidence, what India has been doing in Nepal and Bangladesh and Pakistan, that can also be cited. Pakistan has already cited 131 pages dossier indicating Kulbhushan Yadav and all other activities which India was involved in Pakistan, including assassination. So this all would come handy for the investigation, and this would connect the dots. Once it connects the dot, the transnational assassination, which India started not now, but it would get away since long it's doing it.
But even in terms of the consequences for India within its own borders, as far as what is happening within India, as far as minorities, Kashmir, all of those things, isn't it very relevant? And, the way that it exposes India for what it's doing in the region, particularly, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, Bangladesh, all of this, and the way that India is creating a hostile environment within our region particularly.
And then more importantly, that trans-border assassination. India has been doing it with all its neighboring country, including Pakistan, and now it has done it in a developed country. In a developed country, they are the one, they take it very serious, because their main essence of democracy is the protection to its population of all kind and all shape. They have about 100 different nationalities who have migrated to US or Canada for that matter, and they are quite concerned, and that's why this time it has taken the right significance of the whole incident, and it doesn't seem that Canada would take a back step in near future. It doesn't really indicate any of the indicators for that matter. And not only Canada doesn't stop, the Prime Minister of Canada doesn't stop here. It says India is also involved in other activities of this interference in its sovereignty of Canada. So that is again a very serious allegation, which means that Canada is indicating that about the India's involvement. And by the way,
so much, Ambassador Saab. Thank you for your very valuable input. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Of course, you know, as far as India is concerned, the Modi-led government has been criticized for its democratic backsliding, authoritarian tendencies, and of course the fostering of Hindu extremism. There have been minority violations and human rights violations that started from Kashmir and have now, of course, had a spillover effect. If we look at India's Punjab, if we look at now what's happening, you know, even what happened in Canada. Of course, Pakistan has been saying this for a while. Pakistan has been pointing out Kulbhushan Yadav for a while. Again, as Ambassador Saab said, the dossier is there and the intel has been shared, but unfortunately the world did not react. Perhaps this is an incident that will open the eyes of the world to what India is capable of and the kind of extremist tendencies the Modi government is showing, not only within the region but also outside. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.